I wanted to make a video about what God tells us in respect of our parents, how to treat our parents, and how big of a part of our religion this is. When God defines the straight path, Sirat al-Mustaqim, this is what we all pray for when we recite the verse, the first chapter of the Quran, the Fatiha. So we all recite this many times a day. So when we say Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim, guide us on the straight path, we are asking, we need to know what the straight path is. And God defines this for us in chapter 6, verses 151 to 153. When God does this, God instructs Prophet Muhammad to say, come, let me tell you what your Lord has forbidden for you, that you should associate anything with him. So the first thing that God forbids is associating partners with God. And then he goes on to say, and do good to your parents. So the very next thing after not associating partners with God is doing good to your parents. That is how important it is. This was listed as the first component of the straight path. This is what you pray for. This is what you want to know. So this is what you have to do. Respecting your parents is the basis of your religion. If you don't do that, then you're not on the straight path. And you will never be on the straight path. And if you're not on the straight path, if you're not on the right path, you are on the wrong path, and the wrong path leads to hell. You can claim to be a Muslim all you want, but if you do not grasp this and master this component, you are not doing well. So it is that important, okay? So how to do this, okay? So God explains this in the Quran. So for example, in verse 436, God reiterates this, and we are told, and serve God and do not associate anything with him, and be good to your parents and the relatives and the orphans and the needy and the neighbor who is related and the unrelated neighbor, and companion on the journey, and the traveler, and those under your authority. And God does not love him who is proud and boastful. So again, when we are told who we need to be good to, parents are always listed first. They are always listed first. This is how important it is. And then God says, you have to be good to your relatives and the orphans and the needy and all of your neighbors. And when you're traveling, people who are traveling with you, and if they're traveling through your area, they have to feel safe. You have to be good to them, and even those people under your authority. You have to be good to all of those people. And God, because if you're not, God doesn't like that pride that you think you're better than people, which is making you treat other people differently. Then, when God is describing wisdom in chapter 17, so verses 23 to 24, God says, and your Lord has commanded that you shall worship none but him, that you shall serve none but him, and goodness to your parents. If one or both of your parents reach old age with you, do not say to them as much as oof, nor raise your voice at them, but address them with respect, and be humble towards them, and say, our Lord, please have mercy on them, for they raised me when I was a child. So God tells you how to respect your parents. If they ask you for something, you can't be annoyed. You just do it. You just do it. You can't be like, oh my God, I don't, you're ruining it. I got stuff to do. I'm busy. Imagine if your friend, if you ask your friend, hey, can you give me a ride somewhere? And he goes, oh my God, man, you're always, you're a burden. You wouldn't feel good. Now imagine these people who give you everything, They raised you. The only reason why you're alive, no matter how they are, if you think that they're bad parents or not, fact of the matter is, you are alive because of them. Now, if you had real, abusive, drug addict parents that pimped you out or something like that, okay, yeah, that's different. But if your parents beat you up a few times because you didn't have discipline, you screwed up and stuff, that's not abuse. They got you to this point, and no matter what you think about them, they got you to this point. So God says, don't say as much as oof to them when they ask you to do something. And on general, your parents are never going to ask you to do something that is bad for you. Of course, there's always going to be that 0.0001% that have their kids selling drugs and so on. That is something completely different. But God addresses that as well. But the point is, you have to talk to them with respect. You cannot be annoyed when they ask you to do something. Even if you are annoyed, you can't show it. You can't say as much as oof. Be humble towards them and talk to them with respect. Now, this is not easy, especially in teenage years. It's not easy, and even in adult years, it may not be easy. But this is a commandment of God. If it was easy, everybody would do it. So it takes practice. You have to practice this. Without this, you are nowhere. You are not a Muslim. You may think that you're a Muslim. You may claim that you're a Muslim. You may feel that you're a Muslim, but you are not on the straight path. And if you are not on the straight path, then you are not a Muslim. It's that simple. Now you can say, oh, you can tell me I'm not a Muslim, and I can't. You're right. But I'm showing you proof. So you have to think about this. So God also says in chapter 31, verses 14 to 15. And we have commanded man. We have commanded man in respect of his parents. And his mother bears him with weakness upon weakness. And his weaning takes 2 years. And be grateful to me and both of your parents. To me is the eventual return. And if they argue with you that you should associate with me that of which you do not have any knowledge, do not obey them, but continue to keep company with them in this world with kindness, and follow the way of him who turns to me. Then to me is your return, and then I will inform you of what you did. So God says that he commanded you. So this isn't an option, this isn't a suggestion. God says, and we have commanded on a human being, on insan. The word here is used insan, which means a human being, just a human in general, in respect to his parents. So God says, I commanded you in respect of your parents. And God says, his mother, bears him, carries him with weakness upon weakness. Look at a toddler. Look at a baby. They are nothing. They are weak. They are useless. They cannot defend themselves. They cannot feed themselves or anything. Somebody had to feed you. You owe them this. This is what God tells you, how God invites you to think about this. Your mother bared you with weakness upon weakness. You were nothing. You were weak. You were pointless. And now look at you. Now that you're strong, all of a sudden these people don't matter. You're smarter than them. You're better than them. You know, they're stupid. They don't know anything. The only reason why you are alive is because your parents kept you alive. Of course, again, I know that a small minority of parents, like 0.0001% of parents, are really bad parents, abusive, and they do some really sick stuff. But in general, parents who are afraid of God, who are trying to do this, they don't do that. And even the parents who are ignorant, even the parents who don't have the knowledge, and this really applies to people who convert, who find Islam at some point. God says, even if your parents try to get you to commit the worst sin, shirk, which is associating partners with God. So God says this is the worst sin. In other places in the Quran, it says, this sin I do not forgive. So if you die in this state, you're not going to be forgiven. But God says, if they try to get you to do the worst of the worst, don't obey them, but be kind toward them. Don't just cast them away. Continue to keep company with them in this world with kindness. You have to do this. And the reason being is, you can teach people what life is. If God gave you that gift, you can teach them. And you can only teach them through kindness. So, as I earlier said, if you had bad parents who try to get you to sell drugs or do any of that, even if they're bad people, your job is to be a good person. God says, and follow the way of him who turns to me. So, people who obey God, they're good people. They don't lie, they don't cheat, they don't steal, they don't do any of those things. And God says, be that person, but stay around your parents. They need to see this, because they can still be saved. They need to see this. They need to see goodness, and maybe they will turn. This is how you help your parents if you had bad parents. even if they try to get you to commit the worst of sins. So that's it. That is it. Your parents are your only friends. They are your best friends. They care about you more than I care about you, more than all your friends care about you. If something bad happens to you, it will be your parents. You will live in their house. They will take care of you if you're paralyzed. They will take care of you if you are in jail. They will come visit you if you are in jail. All your friends, they may say, oh, I ride or die for you, I do this for you, and it's good to have friends. But your best friends are your parents. The best advice, on average, is going to come from your parents. They are the ones that want to see you succeed. They are the ones that want to see you live. They are the ones that want to see you carry on the legacy of your family. Not your friends, not your pastor, not anybody. It is your parents. So they deserve your most respect. And unfortunately, we abuse their love because we know we can get away with it. So most often we don't have time for them. We are mean to them. We yell at them. We raise our voices at them. We tell them they don't know anything, and we think our friends do. It is ignorance. It is illogical thinking. We owe them our lives. We owe them our everything. And all we have to do is be kind and patient with them and not raise our voices at them. And I know it can be hard. We all make those mistakes. In moments of anger, we do make these mistakes. But if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. It's not easy, and you have to train yourself to do this. It is very, very, very important. It is the most important thing. God always lists this first. So you have to do it. You have to do it. No question about it. This is your religion. No matter what you think of them. That's all. So good luck, and I hope you're successful. I hope I'm successful.